I'm here with Michael Ricci, Director of Rugby at Nichols College in Massachusetts. Hi, Michael.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, really well, thank you. Before we get started, can you just tell us a little bit about your background?
Absolutely. So I actually have the advantage of saying I went to Nichols College. I was a student here, so I know that experience. I played rugby all 4 years while I was here. I went on to professionally go to Boston College, and then luckily coaching found me, and I had been coaching. I have been coaching since I was 23 years old. So I started out with Boston College, kind of climbed my way up through those coaching ranks. And then most recently came over here to Nichols College to return as the executive director of enrollment, which I think puts me in a unique position to help students find not only their perfect college, but their perfect rugby program. And I took over the helm as head coach in 2022.
Right. And can you tell me a little bit about your rugby program?
Absolutely. So we started the club. The club was founded, I should say, in 1987. It was founded, as all clubs are, a bunch of friends making sure that they could play rugby on the weekends. And that has evolved throughout the years. So during my time, always been, a competitive program, but definitely a smaller program. And then now taking the helm, things have really accelerated at a pretty incredible rate. We've not only won our division and our conference 2 years in a row and our regional here in the Northeast, but we've been invited to the Nationals for sevens in Maryland just last weekend. And we're moving up a division and we're heading to a national pathway. So the rugby program has gone from this little small club always out punching its weight to, I think now we're going to be a pretty powerful force here in New England. And just some factors of that are roster size alone. We went from a 23-man roster to we'll be having about 50 athletes this fall.
That's great. What division does your team play in, and what does that mean?
Yeah, so our division, we are Division Three. And so we are what in New England we would call the Champions Division, but we are in the National Division Three. And what that means for us, it's really a program that is just as competitive as D2, D1. There's a national pathway. As I think most students recognize, D3, D2, D1, there are differences. I don't see a difference in competition level or intensity. I see a difference maybe in the enrollment size of the campus or kind of the size of the campus experience as a whole.
Okay, and tell me about your international players and their role in the team.
Absolutely. So, this being my third full year, really started diving into the international recruiting this year. I'm happy to announce that we have three English players so far committed. We have a couple Canadians, and then we joke here in the States. We also have some West Coast who are just as international to us Northeast. But we actually, the international players for us are going to bring a huge world of experience, knowledge, longevity in their playing career, and they're going to bring over that English rugby culture or that Canadian rugby culture, or wherever they are from, that culture from their countries. And it's going to be very important for the domestic students.
Great. What do you think the biggest challenge is for the internationals?
Yeah, so I think rugby wise, I don't know how many challenges there are. I think they've had a pretty intense rugby career up into attending a university, whether it be in their home country or not. On the international admission side is where I see the struggle. So I think financial aid literacy, knowing what we're going to pay, knowing how scholarships work. Is rugby scholarship equivalent to a merit scholarship in the United States? I see GPA conversions being a bit of a, I wouldn't say an issue, but a challenge. Knowing where you actually stack up, because not only does it convert differently to just to an American system, but it may convert differently to every college as well. So I actually really see that the challenges or maybe you and I's opportunities lie within the admissions process.
And what do you think makes your team special?
I think it's our family atmosphere. It's the club style brotherhood that we bring to our club. I think what's made this club special is that relationship with each other and bringing in the entire family, not just the student athlete. And I think the things that have been happening with our recent success in these 3 years speak to that. But I also think what makes us special is our focus on the education. So We're a top 6% business school in the world. We focus on school first, rugby second. I hope everybody goes professionally to go on and play rugby, but if that's not the case, we want to make sure that we're molding young people to have fulfilling careers, fulfilling home lives, and being members of their community that we can be proud of.
You mentioned to me earlier that you see your rugby players as leaders on the pitch and off of it. Can you
Yeah.
tell me what that means at Nichols College?
Absolutely. We don't think leadership stops once we get off the pitch. We believe that it is a constant. And when you are a member of this team, you are a leader. So within the community of Nichols alone, that means we're attending any event that deserves attendance. So if it's supporting your fellow student athletes, if it's going to a campus event that has nothing to do with athletics, if it's being the volunteers to set up the concert or to volunteer your time to move in the freshmen on their first day so they have a great experience, that's a big deal. But also it's academically. We have the kind of a zero tolerance for poor grades, and that results in maybe not going on a rugby tour or those types of things. We ask you to sit in the front. We ask you to wear appropriate clothing. We ask you to speak up. So yeah, that leadership never turns off for our program, and I think that's been a pretty another thing that is one of our successes.
What do you look for in a top recruit?
Every single one of my recruiting calls is the same. So there's consistency. And I always tell them the first and foremost thing that I will look for is academically, are we a fit? Is the campus size, are our majors what you're looking to study? Because if rugby magically disappeared, would you still be happy here at the college? I think that's first and foremost, the education, especially when your parents are sending you away potentially to a far place with some expenses. We need to make sure that the root of the education is founded. After that, my second biggest thing is you as a person. So I want to know your family life. I want to know what you do outside of rugby. I want to know who you are and get to know you either via Zoom or an in-person visit. Because if you have the education that you want, I have the person that I want. The third thing is then the rugby player. And a lot of people I think are shocked by that. But if I have the best rugby player on the planet coming to our team, but it's not a cultural fit and doesn't want to be here for the education, that's not part of our culture. So I'll always take culture over that talent. So the top recruits, ironically, start with two things that have nothing to do with rugby, and then it gets into rugby.
And what are your goals for next season?
Yeah. So our goals for next season, going into our new division, the Division 3 national pathway, is to not only win our conference but win our region, and our goal is to go to the national tournament. Uh, and I mean, the overall goal is to win that tournament, whether that's this year or in the near future. But the goal is pretty simple that we now want to establish ourselves nationally as one of the best Division 3 clubs in the country.
Do you have anything exciting on the horizon?
Absolutely. So officially, we have started a women's club, and that's going to be our sister club to the men's. And we certainly have some other exciting news coming up with potentials of going varsity as a program with the women joining and other exciting things. I'm actually headed to England to host a 2-day camp, partnering with a company, and so there's just a lot going on. I would say it just happened, but something very exciting was we made our first ever national sevens tournament in Maryland for the NCR tournament. So we have a lot of exciting things that are happening and continue to happen. But I think adding a women's program is probably one of the more exciting things. It's only going to make the overall rugby experience here at Nichols even better.
And will that women's program be an NCAA sport or is that a club sport?
So we're actually in the discussions. One of our goals for that program, is actually to become one of the emerging first 40 NCAA women's programs by 2027. Especially with the Olympics coming up, I know USA Rugby is really pushing for that, and we want to be at the forefront of that. I have to give credit to the administration and the staff at Nichols for believing in rugby. I think that happens because of what my players have done and what our team has done to show that there is a culture of it and there can be success on and off the field. But I think that knowing that we have a plan for that to happen is really exciting.
What are the best things about Nichols College?
I think the best thing is the size. So I think when I went here, the small campus, what that allows is more intimate connections with faculty, staff, student to student. And what I can give you a small experience from myself. I worked as an admissions ambassador here my 3 years, my sophomore through senior year. I became very close with the vice president of enrollment uh, to the point where we kept in touch for the 7 years I was out of school, uh, post graduation. And when I called him for some career advice and needed some help to try to see if I needed to move on from my other role, he actually, instead of offering advice, said, I have a job that I need you to come interview for, you'd be great for. And that's the current role that I'm sitting in. So when we say often that student to parents that your faculty care, your staff care, I'm living proof that that person did not need to keep in touch with me for 7 years out of college. That person did not need to think of me first when a role came up that fitted my skill set perfectly. So I think the small campus, I think that translates to our alumni as well. We're far more intense as alums to help out these students because Nichols is a smaller campus and we take a lot of pride here. So I think one of the things that sets us apart, one of the biggest, is the size because of the intimacy of care that your student will receive.
Nichols is based in Massachusetts. Can you tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about the community?
Absolutely. So we are about, which is really advantageous for any international student, especially obviously coming from places like Ireland or England. Um, we are about 45 minutes from Boston, which is the largest city in Massachusetts. We're about 15 minutes from Worcester, which is our second largest city. And then you could even take a train to New York City, the largest city in America, in under 3 hours. So I think one of the things about Dudley in Massachusetts is it's safe, it's rural. Parents can feel confident that their student is in a safe area and protected. And we even have staff and faculty living on campus with the students. But then I think more exciting for maybe the student um, is they can actually explore maybe 10 states within a 3 hour drive or a train. And I think that we're one of the unique parts of the country that can offer that. So I think we're advantageously placed. I think we're safe. And I think that a student would find a lot coming to this area.